Open the ark. Once was this old lady who used to have to go down to the river to fetch water for her family every day. And to do that, she would take these two big jugs, these two big pots. She'd put a pole between them, put that on her neck, and walk down to the river. She would fill them with water and bring them back to her front porch. Now, the pots were the same in every way except for one. One pot was perfect. It had no cracks, it had no breaks, it functioned beautifully as a jug of water. The other one was broken. It had holes and cracks, years of use. In fact, every time she would put water in it, she'd only have about half a jug of water by the time she got back home. It would just pour out, spill out of all the different holes and cracks. At the end of her life, she sits down, and ancient story says that she begins to have a conversation with these two pots. The first jug says, "I'm perfect. I've achieved everything I ever wanted in life. I was designed for this. I was designed to be filled with water and to bring it back to your home." And I did, and it was perfect. Hearing this, the second pot, was very embarrassed, ashamed. Because this pot felt like it was broken, couldn't do its job. It wasn't perfect. It had cracks. It had bruises. It had holes. And the old lady, in her infinite wisdom, turned to this second pot and said, "My dear water jug, you don't understand. Your purpose was not to bring water to me, but to water the flowers along the way of the path. Did you notice the flowers I planted 20 years ago that are now large rose bushes? They need water every day, but they're only on one side of the path, the side I chose for you." And at that, the jug became calm and understood. And that is how we are tonight, community of broken vessels. Every promise you've ever made this past year, every commitment that you have made this past year, every time that you agreed to do something, every time you made an oath or a vow this past year and you didn't fulfill them, you didn't show up, you broke your promise, you didn't say sorry, you didn't give forgiveness, every time puts a crack in who you are, puts a hole in your soul. And the same is for the year to come. All of us will make promises we cannot fulfill. All of us will have engagements that we'll choose not to go to. All of us will make oaths that we do not intend to keep. All of us will say please and thank you without really meaning it. All of us will smile at beautiful children knowing that they are misbehaving. At least that's just me. But we all gather here tonight because on this one night, a broken jug can become a watering can. A broken vessel can become something perfect yet again. That is why we gather together for Kol Nidre, to absolve us from our vows from years past and the year to come. And so we gather together as one community of broken people, standing before each other and before God. By the authority of the heavenly court, and by the authority of this earthly court, with divine consent and with the consent of this congregation, we hereby declare it permissible to pray with those who are broken, those who have cracks and holes and bruises, those who have transgressed, those who sin on this holy night. The words of Kol Nidre, page 398.
Shiva, Shiva shel makom aredat hamakom ve'aredat hakal onu matirin litpalel בישיבה של מיילו ובישיבה של מתו על הדעת המקום ועל הדעת הכל אנו מתירים להתפלל אם הוא עבר יומי בישיבה של מיילו ובישיבה של מותו על ידת המקום ועל ידת הקהל אנו מתירים להתפלל אם הו עבר יומי. Yone Sharon Shavikin Hello, Nidre, Lo Nidre via surrei Uscivuei Vacharumei Vequinumei ושועתנה ושועתנה
All vows, oaths, and promises which you made to God and were not able to fulfill last Yom Kippur to this and to the next Yom Kippur, may all such vows between ourselves and God be annulled. May they be void and of no effect. May we be absolved of them and released from them. May these vows not be considered vows, these oaths not be considered oaths, and these promises not be considered promises. Final recitation of Kol Nidre, page 398.
Nidre ויסורי ואחרוני וקונומי וחילויי וגילוסי הושבו ונשלח לכל הדת בני ישראל ולגר הגר בתוך העם כי לכל העם בשגגה. ונסלח לכל הדת בני ישראל הגר הגר בתוכם כי לכל העם בשגגה. ונסלח לכל הדת בני ישראל ולגר הגר בתוכם כי לכל העם בשגגה. סלחנו לעוונם הזה כי גודל חסדך וכאשר נשאת לו עם הזה ממצרים וידנה ושם נאמר ויאמר אדוני סלחתי כי לא עליך ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם Amen.
Psalm for Shabbat, page 404.
מזמור מזמור שיר ליום השבת מזמור מזמור שיר ליום השבת מזמור מזמור שיר ליום השבת מזמור מזמור שיר ליום השבת. The whole world is waiting to sing a song of Shabbos.
As the ark is closed, you may be seated.
The whole world is waiting to sing a song of Shabbos. And I am also waiting to sing a song of Shabbos. And I am also waiting to sing a song of Shabbos. Mizmor, mizmor, shir, shir leyom ha-Shabbat. Mizmor, mizmor, shir, shir leyom ha-Shabbat. Tzadik ha-Tamarim v'lach ye'erev v'aron yizgeh shetulim b'veit Adonai b'chatzrot ereinu yaverichu odinu v'meshevo d'shenu v'ranim yiyu להגיד כי אשר אדוני צורי ולא עוולה תבוא.
Page 406.
נכון כי זכרים מכל עוד מים רבים אדירים משבריים אדיר במרום אדוני אלוהיך למנו מאוד לביתך נאווה קודש אדוני לאורך ימים.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Chag Sameach and Shana Tova. On Yom Kippur, we say Gemar Chatima Tova. Let's practice that. Gemar Chatima Tova. Now that means may you be sealed for a good seal. It's a special thing that you say just on Yom Kippur. One more time. Gemar Chatima Tova. Good. Gemar Chatima Tova. May all of you be sealed in the book of life tonight and tomorrow. About to begin our Baruch Hu, our Mariv service. Cantor Fox, let's sing the Nigun one time through, and then we'll have everyone stand up. Their legs are still hurting from Kol Nidre. So
Hi. Give me first note. Hi. Ay, 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 ay. No. There we go. Ay, 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 ay. It's late at night. it again with me so I've got it. Aye, 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 aye.
Let us rise together, page 408 for Baruch Hu. We continue on 408 with the Cantor.
Baruch atah Adonai. Ay, 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 ay.
Page 410.
ועבדך לתסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני. אוהב עמו ישראל.
On page 412, we've gathered together the four corners, or tzitzit, of our talitot, being that this is the only night of the year that we wear our special prayer shawls, usually reserved for the day. We gather them together to say the words of oneness with God and each other, the words of Shema. We also remember to sing out loud, Baruch Shem Kavod, Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Again, the only night and day of the year we sing these words out loud together. Shema Yisrael, page 412.
Shema Yisrael. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol ravcha v'chol nafshecha ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשומרך ובגרומך וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לתותבות בין עיניך וכתבתם
Continue on 414 and 416 silently.
아니요. 아요시를 다브루 시스 למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם.
Bottom of page 418.
ומלכותו ברצון ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה ובני ישראל לכנו שירה בשמחה רבה ואמרו כולם מלחמות חיים מלכות חרבניך בוקע ים לפני משה זה אלי הנובע אמרו ונאמר כי פדרנו את יעקב וגאולו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני ברוך ישראל.
It's 420.
סוכת שלומך ברוך אתה אדוני הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל
We rise together on page 420 for Vishamra.
כי ביום הזה יכפר עליכם לתאר אתכם בכוחותיכם לפני אדוני תתהרוס. ושמרו בני ישראל לעשות את השבת לדורותיכם בכל העולם ושמרו אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, ושמרו השבת ואין יומני בן ישראל אותי לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש ושמרו לעשות את השבת לדורתם בביטחונם ושמרו
Kaddish on page 422.
ויתקדש שמי רבה ילמד יברכי וימליך בחייכנו ימיכנו וחי לכל בית ישראל בגלה ומען קורי וימרו אמן יהי שמי רבה מבורך וישתבח ויתבואר ויתרומם וינזי ויתערר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי לקודשו בריחו בריחו לעילה ולעילה מן כל ברכתה ושינתה ושפתה
Page 424 and following is the silent Amidah. It's the first opportunity of this Yom Kippur to have that private conversation with yourself, with others around you, and with God. An opportunity to look inside yourself to see the year that was and the person that you want to be. On page 424, the words of the silent Amidah, conclusion of which you may be seated.
Shalom b'mirmar hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael b'miru amen ya'aseh shalom shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ya'aseh shalom ya'aseh shalom shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ya'aseh shalom shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ya'aseh shalom shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ya'aseh shalom ya'aseh shalom shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Amen. That's nice. You did the melody tempo thing.
Just
that was
came
nice.
into my mind, just came into my mind.
You have a little experience. It's good.
I didn't hear what you said.
No, it's okay. You don't need to.
For the last year and a half, I'm missing a lot of things, but I don't want to admit I need a hearing aid.
Well, we're going to turn to page 446 for my favorite poem of the whole holiday season. From night until morning until night, we gather together. As the ark is opened, we sing the words of Yahweh. Please rise.
Yahweh, Yahweh, Tavachnuneinu, Tavachnuneinu, Me'erev, Tavachnuneinu, Me'erev, V'yavo, V'yavo, Shabbatenu, Shabbatenu, Mivoker, Shabbatenu, Mivoker, Miroverinu Neinu Adorev.
May our voices rise in prayer at nightfall, our cause ascend to you in the morning, redemption come to us at dusk.
Yalinu yenu yerev, yavo shirivadenu miboker, viro enakatenu adorev.
May our trust in you rise up at nightfall, our hope be granted for your sake in the morning, and our atonement come at dusk.
Yali shinu miyerev, viavo torinu miboker, viro echinu leyenu adorev.
May our remembrance rise to you at nightfall, our assemblage be accepted to you in the morning, and your glory shine upon us at dusk.
Yaledo kinu miyerev, vio vigilenu miboker, viro bakashatenu adorev.
And the final one, may our cry rise up to you at nightfall, our plea reach you and your presence in the morning, and may your mercy be shown to us at dusk.
Yalin kotinu miyerev, yavo elechu miboker, viro eleyenu adorev.
As the ark is closed, you may be seated. We have these beautiful poetry booklets, and on page 7 is an amazing poem by the Israeli poet Yehuda Amichai. It's on page 7. In Hebrew, it says, Tfilat Yachid, Gam Tfilat Yachid Tzrichim Shnayim, which means even a single personal prayer actually needs two. Let's read that poem together in the English on page 7, if you have it. Even a personal prayer needs a partner. There always is one that is swaying, and the second one that is not swaying is God. When my father prayed, he stood still in his place, straight up, without moving, and he dared God to move, as if in the end God would be praying to my Father. I am looking for a place for myself that is restful, high up, and good, in order to reflect upon my life for its blessings and curses. I am down below as I am way above. I am like Bilam upon the heights, and also like the people of Israel down in the valley. But I am also like a general below them that stands over his little ones in a nice place. But I am also like a person who stirs in his sleep, that flips over his pillow in order to sleep. But I am also like a lover, but futility of futility, says Kohelet, that everything is futile, contradictions of contradictions, all is contradiction. What Amichai is trying to teach us is that we all stand in these different places, and at any moment we could be one or we could be the other. Whether we are up high or down low, part of a group or alone. But ultimately, on this night of nights, on this Shabbat Shabbaton, we stand before God. As we move closer to God, we dare God to move closer to us. The words of Shema Kolenu, the words of a prayer that says, listen to me, listen to my life. My life matters. It is meant to be something. I dare you, God, to come closer to me. The words of Shema Kolenu are on page 458. And as the ark is open, we rise to sing together.
Shema Kolenu, Shema Kolenu Adonai Eloheinu, Chuz v'rachem oleinu, v'kabel v'rachamim u'v'rotzon, et tefilateinu.
Shema Kolenu Adonai Eloheinu, Huz v'rachem aleinu v'yakabel rachamim, al tzritzon et tefilateinu.
Hashiveinu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva Chadesh Yomeinu כקדם.
השיבנו אליך ונשובה, חדש ימינו כקדם.
אל תשליכנו מלפניך, ברוח קודשך, אל תיקח ממנו.
אל תשליכנו מלפניך ברוח קודשך, אל תיקח ממנו.
ואל תשליכנו לעת זקנה. כי כלות כוחנו אל תעזבנו אדוני אלוהינו, אל תרחק ממנו.
אל תעזבנו אדוני אלוהינו, אל תרחק ממנו. We remain standing for Ashamnu, page 462.
Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ashamnu,
Ashamnu,
Bagadnu,
Bagadnu,
Gazalnu,
Gazalnu,
Dibarnu Dofi,
Manudofi,
Evinu,
Evinu,
Veirishanu,
Veishanu,
Zadnu,
Zadnu,
Chamasnu,
Masnu,
Tafalnu Sheker.
Tafalnu Sheker.
Ay, 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 ay. Yo atznu ra, hizavnu, latznu, moradnu, niatznu, sorarnu, avinu, pashanu, sorarnu, kishinu orech. Ay, 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 ay. Roshanu, Shichatenu, Yavnu, Tainu, Hirtanu. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay.
On page 467. Remain standing as we repeat the confessional. Let us read responsively. We have sinned against you by hardening our hearts. We have sinned against you publicly and privately. We have sinned against you by evil thoughts. We have sinned against you intentionally and unintentionally. Together for all these sins, O God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, grant us atonement. Continue. We have sinned against you by foolish talk.
And we have sinned against you knowingly and unknowingly.
We have sinned against you by bribery.
And we have sinned against you by slander.
We have sinned against you in eating and drinking.
And we have sinned against you by false pride.
Together for all these sins, O God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, and grant us atonement. We have sinned against you by wanton glances. We have sinned against you by perverting justice. We have sinned against you by being stubborn. We have sinned against you by causeless hatred. Together for all these sins, O God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, grant us atonement. You may be seated. Page 476, Kaddish Shalom.
Oleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imero Oseh shalom imromar Hu yaseh shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imero Amen.
So recall 37 years and you finally have enough experience to take the second late called Nidre service. Congratulations. Cantor Fox, it's to have you here. It's nice to have Congressman Brad Sherman with us. Always great to see you here. Great to have a member of our congregation representing us so well. over in Washington, D.C. And it's nice to see everyone here. You can close your machzor for a few minutes. Trying to think about how to approach what to speak with you tonight. You already heard my letter from last week, so I had to come up with something new. So I decided I was going to start my talk tonight with a piece of wisdom from a great sage of our generation. A beautiful poem by a great Rebbe by the name of Pharrell Williams. He writes this amazing poem. It says, "It might be crazy what I am about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air like I don't care, baby, by the way, because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof, because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth, because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you, because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do, because I'm happy." Right, what a catchy tune, right? All my kids, they go absolutely crazy when they hear this and they dance in the house. Now, it might seem crazy what I'm about to say, and I'm full of hot air, but I'm not a balloon, although my wife sometimes calls me a buffoon. But here's what I want to say. Yom Kippur is not supposed to be a sad holiday. We have other holidays that are sad. We have Tisha B'Av, for example, a night and day of fasting that memorializes the destruction of the temple. It takes place in the middle of the summer because nothing says summer vacation better than being told to put down your margarita and to mourn the loss of a building 2,000 years ago. But on a much more serious note, there's Yom HaShoah, where we read the names of those who perished in the Holocaust, which is a serious day indeed, or even at Passover, at the end of the Seder, we open the door for Elijah, we sing for Elijah, but we read this passage, "Pour out your wrath," which is all about the tumult and the strength and the pain of not yet getting to redemption. But Yom Kippur is not supposed to be a sad holiday, even though we take a moment in the morning to remember our loved ones who are no longer with us through Yizkor. Yom Kippur is not a sad holiday. The purpose of Yom Kippur is not to be angry or to be completely down on ourselves. It's a day of personal evaluation and of bringing to the surface the vulnerabilities and our mortality. But once that great shofar is sounded tomorrow night, you're supposed to sing and dance. In fact, the very first thing the rabbis teach that you're supposed to do after you break your fast is to start to build your sukkah. So that means that tomorrow night, after you eat your lox and bagel, you're supposed to go outside and you're supposed to build your sukkah. In fact, Yom Kippur is not a sad holiday. It's a holiday that goes through a process of fasting and praying, but ultimately is joyous and is supposed to make us joyous and more holy as well, which is what I want to take a few minutes to focus on with you tonight. I want to think through what it means to set happiness as a goal in your life, and whether or not it's really true, as the song says, or whether it should be part of something greater, something more meaningful, more dynamic. For starters, there's this idea of being happy. It's an emotion that is based on something that happens to you. It's your circumstances, usually, that dictates whether or not you feel happy. It's by something on the outside in, as opposed to the inside out. For example, at my birthday party, my wife comes out with a cake and candles. She sings. This is a participatory sermon. Otherwise, you're going to fall asleep. Happy birthday. And I feel happy because I have my friends and my family around me. I get to eat cake. And it was my son's birthday party, and I light the candles and bring the cake out and sing. I'm happy for him because he looks so joyous. And if I'm at my son's friend's birthday party and someone lights the candles and brings out the cake and sings, I am so ecstatic because it means the party is almost over and I can go home and watch more football. Like, that is why I'm so happy at my son's friend's birthday party. And if you're going to talk about circumstances, then you have to go to the place that is considered the happiest place on earth, which is where? Right. And so you're there with your family, and you get to the tickets, and you go, and you eat ice cream, you ride the rides, you meet Mickey Mouse. It scares the bejesus out of your 2-year-old, but that's what you do. And then you go home and you have to sit in traffic on the way home, and then 2 days later you get the credit card bill for all the tickets, the ice cream, and the souvenirs, and maybe you're not so happy. Which is why it's another learning, is that happiness is temporary. It's a feeling that is temporary. It's ephemeral. It's something that oozes out of you the minute you stop feeling it. So where does this idea, though, that we have to be happy come from? Where does it come from? It actually goes all the way back to ancient Athens, the Greeks, paragons of Western philosophy. They gave us democracy, they gave us Euro sandwiches, and they gave us ethics. Aristotle wrote 2 books on happiness. First one's called Eudaimonian Ethics, and the second one is called Nicomachean Ethics. And he says in it that happiness is the goal of life. That eudaimonia, happiness, Greek happiness, he says, is complete and self-sufficient, being the end of all of our practical undertakings. What he means by this is that everything you choose to do in life is for some kind of purpose, whether you realize it or not. But the only thing you don't do for some other purpose, in his opinion, is to become happy. I'll give you a perfect example. You've all done this. You've done this yourself. You've seen this before. A kid is sitting in a math classroom, is frustrated with a math problem, and he asks the question, why do I have to learn math? And the answer is because you have to get good grades. Why do I have to get good grades? Because you have to go to high school. Why do I have to go to high school? Because you have to go to college. Why do you have to go to college? So you can get a good job. Why do I have to get a good job? So you can buy a nice house, take a nice vacation. Why do I have to do those things? So you can feel happy. Aristotle says that the end of this chain of thought leads to happiness, and that you have to align your life around the idea of becoming happy. Eudaimonia is the only self-sufficient cause in understanding how you're supposed to live your life. Now you can draw a straight line from the Athens philosophers through the Western canon of philosophy, through utilitarianism and rationalism, through existentialism, phenomenology. In fact, the most popular class at Harvard today is called the Happy Class. Not kidding. 862 students enroll in it every year. It meets on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It doesn't teach you anything else except how to become happy. Hundreds of songs on iTunes, including this Pharrell Williams song, either has the title or the subject about happiness. If you were to go on Amazon, you would find over 20,000 books, either with the title Happiness or the subject of becoming happy. If you go on the TED website, where all rabbis go to learn how to give sermons, there are 200 TED Talks devoted to this subject. Now, when you go and you're hungry and you want to eat a meal, the most popular meal you can eat in America is called the Happy Meal. And when you want to, after a hard day of work, and you want to go where everyone knows your name, you go to a bar during a happy hour. And yeah, there are some people who go other places for happy endings. It's true. Now, as Americans, we're obsessed with happiness. We're obsessed with happiness. How did we get here? Perhaps it's because we look at this world and we feel really anxious. You go outside and you look at the world and how much everyone seems to be fighting with each other. The divisions that seem to be creeping up in families. Divisions that seem to be creeping up in communities. And you realize that there are state actors that are trying to make us feel less happy. Or you look across the way and you may think, well, maybe there's a madman running a country in East Asia that wants to destroy us, and maybe one day he'll have the ability to do that by the push of a button. Or closer to home, you look at the politics in this country. Sorry, Brad. Or even closer to home, you have this fear and this anxiety that happens in everyday life. Fear of getting fired. I know there's someone in this room who thinks that or has thought that this past year. or fear of not making enough. I'm sure there's someone in this room who's felt that this past year. Or not having a high enough GPA, or a big enough bank account, or fear of being shamed by your family because of your life choices, or for your orientation, or for just who you are. Or you have fear of going back to work because you don't want to leave your new baby with a stranger. Or you have anxiety about staying home because it's going to set your career back and you want to be a good model for what it means to be a modern woman working in the world today. Or maybe someone in your family is getting sick and you're not sure how to pay for the bills. Or there's a mandatory retirement period in your company and feel like you're not done with your life's work yet. There's a lot of anxiety that permeates every corner of our lives. And as we look out at our lives and we look beyond to the horizon, we're searching almost messianically for what we call happiness. But don't think that Judaism doesn't have joy either. Not everything we sing is in a minor key. Judaism says being happy is actually important. Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav once famously said, "Mitzvah gedola lihiyot b'simcha tamid." It is a mitzvah to be happy all the time. The word simcha is mentioned nearly 200 times in the Bible, in the Tanakh, and nearly 1,000 times in rabbinic literature. An overflowing cup of wine is a symbol of overflowing joy. When a bride walks by your shop, and it doesn't matter how old or young or how beautiful or not she is, you're supposed to stop what you're doing, put down your work, go out to the street, give her a hug, and tell her she is beautiful. And you are supposed to sing and dance for her because you are commanded to be happy for the bride and the groom. And if you ever get invited to a bris, you're supposed to go. You're supposed to put down your work and go. Because at the very least, some of the people in the room will be very happy. I can think of one who might not. But everyone else, would be supposed to be an idea of simcha. And don't let me tell you who Larry David or Seinfeld or any of the other comedians that we have understand Jewish humor. Jewish jokes are some of the best jokes they are, like the one about the chicken and the salmon that go for a walk. Chicken, you know this one? Chicken and salmon go for a walk by shul Sunday morning. It says lox and eggs charity breakfast. Chicken looks at the salmon and says, "Let's go to the breakfast. It looks fun." Salmon says, "I don't know." The chicken says to the salmon, "Why don't you want to go?" He says, "I'm not feeling it." The chicken says, "It's for charity. It's for charity. You have to go." And the salmon says, "From you, they want a contribution. From me, they want a commitment." Or about the Rabbi Simmons, who played golf on Yom Kippur. So he decided not to show up for Yom Kippur. And you know those old Hasidic stories where the rabbi's like doing some good deed. Well, he wasn't going to do that. He wanted to go play at the club. So he went and he played golf. And Moses looks down from heaven at Rabbi Simmons and gets really angry. Shouldn't he be leading congregation, fasting, giving a talk, giving a sermon? And he goes and he complains to God. And God looks down, and next thing you know, Rabbi Simmons has a hole-in-one. And then he goes to the next hole, toughest hole on the course, hole-in-one. And then again, hole-in-one. Now Moses is really angry. Moses is really angry with God. He said, "Aren't you supposed to be punishing this man, this rabbi, for not being in shul on Yom Kippur?" And God looks down at Moses and said, "Who's he going to tell?" You want one more? I'll give you one more. We went camping in Yosemite this summer, so this is a Yosemite joke. A Jew goes camping in Yosemite, wakes up in the morning, and he puts his talis tefillin on. He sees the beautiful waterfalls. He starts thanking God for such a beautiful day. He starts to pray, and out of the woods comes a big old grizzly bear licking his chops. And suddenly this Jew gets really scared. And he starts saying, Rabbona Shalom, please make this bear into a Jew, a good Jew, a nice Jew, a beautiful Jew. He starts saying Shema because he thinks his life is about to be over, and he opens his eyes, and the bear is shuckling. The bear is shuckling. He put on a kippah, and he's praying. And the Jew says, "Oh my God, I'm saved, thank you so much." And he goes over to the bear to hear what the bear is praying, and the bear is singing, "Hamotzi lechem." Is it okay to tell food jokes on Yom Kippur? Is everyone okay? I hope no one's hungry. If you are, you can always go across right behind me. Behind this window is a McDonald's. You can go get a Happy Meal over there if you want. But it's not just this feeling of compulsion for happiness, right, that we feel. There's actually sociological and economic studies on happiness. In fact, in 1970 was the first one. The simple question was, are you happy? That's all they asked. And what they did is these economists took this survey, and they wanted to know, in a place where wages started going up during the 70s and debts were falling, could you correlate income with happiness? And the results that came back after that survey and a series of other surveys over the course of several decades were actually quite mixed. On the one hand, there was a high correlation between increasing income and increasing life satisfaction and happiness. It's true. And it's true for communities, individuals, and countries. They found that across the board. On the other hand, they found that when you reached a certain threshold of income and you began to exceed that threshold, your level of marginal happiness, increased happiness, begins to level off. And in fact, what increases exponentially, sorry for all the big words, is meaninglessness. You begin to feel nothing. In fact, you begin to see nothingness or meaninglessness in your life. What they found was a paradox. While happiness increases with wealth to a certain point, it levels off and you find meaninglessness underneath. As one billionaire said, how many more pairs of jeans do I need to own to make me look good? I have one for every day of the week. Therein lies the paradox, I think, of happiness of our lives. The more things you try to own, the more you realize that you cannot find meaning in the thing that you bought. The more you ask yourself, what do I need to feel happy? The more you are disappointed when you have that thing. What emerges from these studies is that our sensibilities adapt to the things we own. Every purchase of material goods we make can add to our satisfaction, but only for a short period of time. You quickly get used to your new car, your purse, and soon feel you're just as empty as you did before you bought that new thing. The more we ask, what do I need? The more we feel the need to need. It is what Freud called being driven by our instincts or by our passions. We create a cycle. I desire, I receive pleasure. Desire, pleasure. Desire, pleasure. Until finally, one day we look back at our lives and wonder what it's all about. Deep down, we know this, all of you know this, our souls are begging for something to break that cycle. Something different. Our hearts are screaming for something more. Trying to live life as Aristotle, as the Greeks, the philosophers said, by setting up happiness as life's ultimate telos, goal, and crafting our entire lives around that goal, either by buying our way there, or vacationing our way there, or even drugging our way there. It's like a little bit like trying to fall asleep, or even getting enough sleep. Because both sleep and happiness is something that we tell our friends we never get enough of, and that we're always looking for more of it. And when we finally do have it, we're never awake enough to know it. Why bring this up? Because Athens has a lock on the Western mind for thousands of years. As I said before, you can draw a straight line from the philosophy of Aristotle all the way through the Western canon till today. But Jews are not Greeks. Athens is not our capital. Jerusalem is. Judaism has always said that our lives cannot be reduced to the mere biological cycle of needs and satisfaction. Being happy is not life's primary goal. As Kohelet, the author of the book of Ecclesiastes, teaches, I mixed joy and experienced pleasure, and behold, it was vanity too. Of laughter I said, it is nothing but mirth, And concerning joy, I asked, what does it accomplish? He was not just a kvetchy Altacocker. He was not an old man who didn't see anything in life. He was brilliant. He was wealthy. He traveled the world. He learned from the greatest teachers. He was poor and he became rich. He learned different languages. Some say he was even King Solomon himself. And yet he comes to this conclusion. I think if Kohelet would live today and we tried to figure out who he is, he probably would have stayed in the Ritz, probably would have eaten caviar. He probably had good seats to Hamilton. He probably had the best tea times at the club or in a box at the Bowl every summer. Yet, with all of these things, with all of his travels, all of his wealth, that brought him ephemeral happiness, ephemeral joy, in the end he felt empty, that it accomplished nothing. Does this sound familiar to any of us in this room? That's because life is more than a circle of pleasure and desire, pleasure and desire. You are more than a biological creature, more than what Freud said about your instincts and your passions. The vital drives of sex and food, power, and all the time that we spend trying to satisfy those needs do not, according to the rabbis, describe the fullness of our existence. The material desires are part of each human being, but they cannot fully describe the full experience of being human. Our souls are begging for something different. Our hearts scream for something more. It is the philosophers of Athens that teach us that happiness is its greatest goal, the greatest good, because it's the only thing we can do for its own sake. But it is the sages of Jerusalem that teach us that happiness is not life's goal, something else is. It's holiness. Holiness is the goal of life. The purpose of life, says our tradition, is not only to be happy, but to be holy. And so what is holiness? It's hard to teach it directly, so I'm going to use a story. The kids in the day school this year are doing Wizard of Oz. Remember that movie? Starts in a beautiful place called Kansas, and everything appears to be all right. They have a nice farm, a good family, bad weather, but that's all right. But for the most part, everyone's okay. Dorothy's okay, Auntie Em is okay, except there's something that nobody notices in the movie. Not a single character notices this in the beginning of the movie. Not Dorothy, not Auntie Em, not any of the other, not Toto. Nobody notices is that they're living their lives in black and white. They don't notice that. It's not until after the storm, when the house goes flying and it lands in Munchkin Land and Dorothy steps out and the door opens, sees the world in full blazing Technicolor for the first time. That's holiness. It fills our world. It sits in the background that many of us can't even see it. If you only live your life trying to achieve one thing, eudaimonia, happiness, you're living only along a single axis. Your life is broadcast in black and white. But if you understand that happiness is a means and not an end, if you understand that there is a greater world out there more cherished and sacred than happiness alone, if you see yourself in service to something greater, then you can live in many dimensions at once. Your life is no longer broadcast in black and white, but in full and beautiful streaming Technicolor. It's hard, again, to approach this directly, so I'll come at it from another angle. When my Zadie died, we gathered for Shiva in his home, and after a couple of nights, one of the cousins stood up and said, "Can I tell one of Zadie's favorite jokes?" She proceeded to tell it, and the family started laughing contagiously. Then another cousin got up and told another joke, and another joke, one after another. For 20 minutes, everyone was rolling in stitches on the floor, laughing hysterically. But it's not because we were happy. It was tragic. It was sad. It was shocking even. But we were laughing not because we were happy. It's because we opened up a new dimension of life where we can laugh even in our pain. And that's what makes a moment from being one-dimensional to two-dimensional, from just being happy to being holy. A few years later, Sarah and I were married, and at our wedding, we stood under the chuppah. And tradition in our family is always to remember those who are no longer with us at the beginning of the ceremony. We said prayers, including for my Zeta. We remembered him, They cried, I cried, it was beautiful. But because we were not just experiencing happiness in that moment, but something deeper, we opened up a new dimension to that moment. It wasn't just happiness, it was holiness. When you mourn for your family under the chuppah, that's a technicolor holy moment, because you begin to see the world through a prism that refracts all of life's emotions and moments into one clear picture simultaneously. The same as when we had our oldest daughter, Meira, who was named after our Zeta. And amongst the most joyous feelings and new beginnings, we took a moment to remember him by sharing a few of his virtues we wished to see in her. I was sad and happy and excited and nervous and full spread color of emotions, painting the world with God's paintbrush, making celebratory moment into a holy moment. Mechaye meitim barachamim rabim. That in that moment we turned our mourning into dancing, darkness into life, mechaye meitim, and death into life, sweet precious life again. It's okay to laugh at a shiva house and to cry under a chuppah and to mourn at a baby naming. It's not only okay, it's holy. Holiness is the fullest expression of our flourishing. It is seeing the colorful background behind the grayscale of all of our lives. But how do we find it? Jews don't believe that God is a map maker. We're not predestined to heaven. God does not set a fated path before us, nor does God even know the outcomes of our choices. Yom Kippur would make no sense if we were predestined and fated to a particular life. What's the use of taking the field and playing the game if both teams and the fans knew the outcome? What's the use? God is not a map maker. God does not have a plan for your life. You have to have a plan for your life. God does, however, provide a blueprint. A blueprint tells you how to build the house, where to put the beams, what kind of shingles to use, where the plumbing goes, where the electricity goes. But a blueprint never tells you what paintings to put on the wall, or what melody to sing to your children to sing them to sleep, or what types of tortillas to use on Taco Tuesdays. Blueprints are plans, but they're not plans for your life. They are an environment, an ecology in which holy moments can be found. The blueprint is the background. Your life is the foreground. The Torah, according to Breshit Rabbah, is God's blueprint. God used the Torah to build the world. It gives us commandments and tells us many stories, but it's at its center is a single character, more important than Abraham and Sarah, more important than Moses and Miriam. The most important character of the Torah, the one on which the entire world depends, is you. At the center of the Torah is the story of your life, of where you come from, what nature it is to be a human being, what is demanded of you, what is needed of you, and how you can give to the world. God ordains the sacred times, but it is up to you to make them holy. The Torah sets out the blueprint for the house, but it's up to you to live in that house, which is the greatest differing dimension between holiness and happiness. Aristotle asks, how do I find happiness? What fulfills my desire? What frees me from pain? What gives me pleasure? What do I need? The Torah asks a different question. How do you find holiness? How do you free the pain of others? How are you needed? You don't marry someone to make you a better person. It's because they need you in order to feel loved. They need you. You don't ask for forgiveness to make yourself feel less guilty. You ask for forgiveness so that the other person no longer has to feel the pain that you've caused. They need you to free them from their pain. Tzedakah is a holy virtue. You shouldn't give money to charity because it makes you feel good, although it's great for your taxes, for now. But it's because the poor need you. It's because they cry out to you. They break their fetters of slavery. When we break their fetters of poverty, the shackles of oppression, says Isaiah, tomorrow at the Haftarah, then you become holy through them. They need you. It's how you become holy. It's by being needed. The Torah does not say, smechim tihiyu, you shall be happy, because life is not lived in black and white. It says, kedoshim tihiyu, you shall be holy, with all its ups and its downs, with its windfalls and its setbacks, with happiness and sadness, with life and death, in life's fullest dimensions in all of its colors. That breaks the cycle of desire and pleasure by transcending ourselves to be more godly. This is the central task of your life. The world, according to the Talmud, was created for you so that you know that you are part of something dramatically bigger than your own personal needs. Being human and finding significance and indeed happiness cannot happen solely by the fulfillment of your desires, but instead in the realization that you are needed. The Torah's blueprint for your life is the only foundation for the world. It is the what, where, and why of the Jewish mind. It gives you the parameters, but doesn't tell you the path. It gives you guidance, but at its central point, it asks this question: are you needed? And your life is the answer to this question. In 2011, the Nobel laureate and author Toni Morrison, wonderful author, spoke at Rutgers' commencement address to the undergrads. She said, I urge you, please, don't settle for happiness. It's not good enough. Of course you deserve it. Of course you deserve to be happy. But if that is all you have in mind is happiness, and I want to suggest that your personal success, devoid of meaninglessness, free of a steady commitment to social justice, that's more than a barren life. It is a trivial one. It's looking good instead of doing good. Yom Kippur is our commencement day, complete with robes and funny hats. Yom Kippur is our holiest day of the year. Yom Kippur is the holiday when we free ourselves from the cycle of desire and pleasure in order to achieve something greater, something more than our own short-lived happiness. We fast our bodies so we can feed our souls. We wear no leather, no display wealth of any kind, for we know that materialism is no substitute for holiness. We spend the day away from work and our physical needs, choosing instead to reflect and look inside ourselves so that we may grow. We're all trying not just to look good, but to be good. Both Athens and Jerusalem say that you and I are the most important thing ever imagined. But where the Greeks say the goal of life is to be happy, our sages say it is to be holy. To build a life of holiness where your needs are met by meeting the needs of others. Where we can build a synagogue community of caring and sharing and of learning together. A place that dips into the wellspring of our ancient tradition and says, we can say at every moment in this place, at Valley Beth Shalom, that we can make moments holy. That the men and women who work here, the men and women who volunteer here, the men and women who spend their time here can do holy work. By learning our eternal values, by reaching deep within our souls, by connecting to others, and by growing in spirit, by growing the spirits of others through acts of loving kindness, we can become holy because we know how to become holy. Our community is not a country club, even though some people think it is. It is not a business, even though some people think it is. It is a kehila kedosha, a community of holiness. We can never, ever settle for happiness. It's not good enough. Our lives are more beautiful than that. It is a life full of goodness and wellness and beauty and love and happiness, but ultimately a life of holiness. This is the task of our lives. And you can clap along if you feel that's what you want to do. Gemar Chatima Tova. May all of you be sealed for a good and wealth and a beautiful life. Together we say, Amen. On page 487, we rise together for Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hagol, l'ateit gdula l'yosef b'reshit, shelo asanu kigoyei haratzot, velo samadu kemishbechot to'adama, שלא שם חלקנו גואב, וגאור עלינו ככל העולם. יפני מלך, מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא שנשמע. סכן אומר ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
Mourner's Kaddish is found on page 482. I ask all those who are mourning, observing Yortzeit, or would just like to say Kaddish, remain standing at this time. Recite the Kaddish together. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. V'yamad yivrach hirotei v'yamich malchutei. V'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman karif v'yimru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam omei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudsha brichu. Le'ela le'ela mikol berchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata. Damiran b'yama v'yimru. Amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu. V'yakol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen. May God give comfort to all of us in our community who mourn. And together we say, Amen. You may be seated. Thank you so much for staying up late with us. It's amazing. Unfortunately, both Herschel and I have to do the early service tomorrow morning. It's called a quick turnaround in the airlines world. Anyway, Yasher Koach, Herschel, really nice to spend the time with you tonight.
I can't tell you how much I enjoyed the sermon, and I'll tell you my favorite line.
Did you hear it?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Every single word. Every single word. I have a speaker there so that I can hear it.
Thank you. Okay, well, who's giving an announcement? Dr. Ron Ryder, who is our Gabbai of our community, has a few very important announcements.
Thank you, Rabbi Farkas. The announcements will be brief. We don't have to say at this service, please leave, so we can make room for the next service, because that service will be beginning at 11:30. Tomorrow, please be certain to bring your tickets. Security is very, very tight this year. In case you forget your tickets, please bring some kind of photo ID. Bring them up to the booth so they'll know who you are. Tomorrow there'll be two family services, the early childhood service at 9:15, and then at 10:30, the later elementary school-age children's service, the family services. Services begin tomorrow promptly at 1:45. And when you get here, please make, if you have any kind of role here in the service, please let Amy Shamash, and thank you, Amy, for your hard work as a floor coordinator. Also, thank you for Bob Titcher being here on the BEMA assisting with the honors. Announcement that was never made to your great-grandparents, please try to take Lyft or Uber. It'll certainly help with the congestion, and with the go-go grandparents, etc., it is a very, very convenient way to get to Shul. Don't forget your donations for Operation Pushcart. We're still collecting tomorrow food and other items for veterans and homeless people, and certainly for people needing the food from SOVA. Childcare is also available beginning at 9:45 tomorrow, and there'll also be childcare, of course, for this second service. And want to thank Rabbi Farkas and Cantor Fox very much for a wonderful service. You both made us very happy and very holy. Gamar Tov, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Cantor Fox, how are we ending services tonight?
Well, it's written Yigdal Elohim Chai, unless you want to change it.
You can do that. You can do a nice up
Here we
melody.
go. יגדל אלוהים חי וישתבח נמצא בילד אל מציאותו אחד ואין יחיד כייחודו לעולם וגם אין סוף לאחדותו אין לו דמות הגוף ואינו גוף לא נערוך אליו קדושתו קדמון לכל דבר אשר נברא ראשון מן ראשית לראשיתו אינו אדון עולם לכל נוצר יורה גדולתו ומלכותו שפע נבואתו נתנו אל אנשי סגולתו ותפארתו לא קם בישראל כמו שעוד נביא ומביט את אמונתו תורת אמת נתן לעמו אל יד נביאו למען ביתו לא יחליף האל ולא ימיר דתו לעולם יהיו לזולתו צופה ויודע סתרנו מביט לסוף דבר בקדמתו דומה לאיש חסד כמפעלו נותן לראש הרע כרישתו ישלח לקץ ימין משיחנו יפדות מחקקי ישועתו מתים יחייל ברוב חסדו ברוך הדעת שם תהילתו מתים יחייל ברוך הדעת שם תהילתו
שנה טובה, גמר חתימה טובה.
גמר חתימה טובה